What's up, folks? This is Justin Garcia, aka Master Chim, and welcome to another episode of the Pressure Project Podcast. ThePressureProject.com is our website. Info at ThePressureProject.com is our contact email, and ThePressureProjectMembers.com is our membership site. Check it out. So today, a glorious treat for you, my friends. He's back. The golden one, Marcus Follin, from the shores of Sweden. I'm pretty sure they have shores. I don't know if he's actually on a shore when he did this interview. But he's back, and we're going to talk about some stuff that both his followers and followers of the Pressure Project are going to enjoy. We cover topics including everything from the alt-right to the Milo situation to what's going on in Europe right now. We even include a sort of overview of what kind of training he does and what he's looking to do in the near future with his training. He may even have some MMA aspirations. Wouldn't that be cool? But I'm not going to hold you, so check out the interview, and I'll see you on the other side. What's up, folks? This is Justin Garcia, a.k.a. Master Chim, and on the line via Skype, I have a friend of the podcast, longtime associate and ally now, the golden one, Mr. Marcus Follin. Marcus, you want to say hi to the listeners?
Hey, what's up?
All right, so I'm happy I finally got you on again. We've both been busy in our respective worlds, online and offline, and it's good to catch up. And I got to say, your interviews, your previous interview, was probably one of the most well received that we have gotten. And in the time since you've last been on, I've seen you just getting after it online and really doing a lot of great work. So I thank you for appearing again on the podcast.
It's my pleasure. It's an absolute honor to be back. I'm a great fan of the podcast as well. Usually listen to the Pressure Project on the way to the gym. So it will be nice to hear my own voice the next time I am on the way. So and thank you as well for all of your good work.
Awesome. So, a lot has been going on lately. A lot is always going on when you're people like us that pay attention to everything that's going on.
Yeah.
But I have a bunch of topics that I want to hit, and I figured we just organically go after it, and wherever we go, we go. But I want to start with the topic of the alt-right. So I have been asked before, are you a member of the alt-right? Which it was just weird to me. Like, I don't fucking know. Like, is there like a form I'm supposed to fill out, or I don't understand exactly the complete connotation of that question. But I understand that I have a lot of allies that do openly consider themselves part of the alt-right movement. Where do you fall in this whole thing?
I've actually, since Hillary's speech, the hot topic of the day has been the alt-right, and I've said that I sympathize with a lot of their views and opinions and values, but I would not say that I'm alt-right, because that if I choose to be associated with a certain group, then people think that I have opinions that I can't really stand by, and also get associated with other guys who have opinions that differ from my own. So I would probably say that I'm an ally and a fellow traveler or something, but I wouldn't say that I'm alt-right myself, because alt-right is more, it's only political. Like you are concerned with the Jewish question and the white identity politics question, and those are important, but that's not the entirety of what I want to do. Theoretically speaking, you could be a degenerate who's watching porn all day and don't really do anything physical and be considered alt-right. And I want to keep the standards high, that if you had heard to my teachings, you have to train, like you have to go to the gym or train MMA or shoot firearms or whatever. So it's also based on action, my philosophy. So there's that. If that makes any sense at all, I don't know, but yeah.
No, it makes complete sense. I, for one, am always very reluctant to put a label a common label on what it is that I do or what it is, who it is that I am, because of everything you just mentioned. It's just, you get lumped in with people. Your points and views get much more easily dismissed and lumped together with the loudest voice in a given conversation.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and I try to avoid that, at every turn. Even when it comes down to like a topic that I'm constantly dealing with, is the heathenry and being a heathen and
Yeah,
where I fall in the world of heathen. And it's like I don't have anything to do with any of them. Like this shit
yeah,
ain't got nothing to do with any of them, nothing to do with any of these organizations. And I
yeah.
have allies, all over the place. But like, listen, this is my fucking thing. Like, mind your
Yeah.
business.
Yeah, same thing here, and that's usually speaking of heathenry. I've taken it upon myself to try to find some common ground between Christians and pagans, especially in Europe, because like now is not the time to have like this infighting between pagans and Christians, and then obviously I don't get hate, but I get some criticism either for being like too lenient on Christianity or for being a pagan when Christianity is the true way to save the decay of the West. So I'm well aware of that, and that's also why I don't want to be labeled with a lot of other people. I want people to go to my videos or web page and see, okay, these are exactly the opinions held by this guy and nothing else. So I don't get, as you say, like the lumped in together with the guy with the highest voice somewhere else.
Right, right. And I agree completely. And if you don't mind, I'd actually like to talk about what you just brought up, with the whole Christianity and heathenry thing, because
Yeah,
I very, very rarely get to talk about it. It's one of those things where I agree with you completely. I agree that, I mean, I myself have a lot of very, critical views of the history of Christianity and its spread throughout, Europe and the world, and just, what its sort of process is, in and of
yeah,
itself. But, you know, now is not the time, man. Now is not the
yeah,
time. We have a priority. Everybody should have a priority in how they expend their energy and resources. And energy spent on debating heathenry versus Christianity right now is wasted energy, in my opinion.
yeah,
We'll get to that. Like, but for
yeah.
now, let's make sure that Europe is not, fucking North Africa, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's how I view it. Like, come on, guys, settle this now, and then you can fight it out after we have removed Islam from Europe, etc. But
Right.
but yeah, now is not the time to have those sort of infighting. But then yeah, it can be fun to have like ideological discussions regarding it, regarding especially the morals and the philosophy of it, because yeah, as I've said, I think heathenry has a superior moral groundwork, especially in regards to our current predicament. But then I have great respect for Christianity and its role as uh, institution for unity in the West and Western civilization. So yeah, both parts have good sides and bad sides.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, the way I put it, cleanly is, I have too many people who are Christian that I respect to sit here and just throw, all of Christianity and all of
Yeah,
its constituents under the bus.
yeah, same here.
Yeah. So right on. So the alt right, I want you to the best of your ability, define what exactly the alt right is. You mentioned a couple of components, but if somebody were to ask you and your opinion, being taken as an outsider's view of it, what is the alt right to you?
Um, oh, tough question. I'd probably say white identity politics or Western identity politics, in addition with an understanding of the Jewish question and a rejection of the neocons that has ruled America for the last while. So a rejection of the wars in the Middle East and a rejection of American imperialism and wars for Israel and that sort of stuff. So that would be a brief overview if I can. Yeah, something like that, at least.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. You know, me, I'm constantly trying to get a better grasp on what exactly the alt right is. I see it as this sort of this sort of morphing identity that has its boundaries waver from side to side in given instances and individuals who represent it. But by and large, I agree with what you described as being what they're about. I myself, when it comes to the alt right, I am in agreement with so many of them, so many allies that I have that fall, into that identity. But it's not, again, similar to what you had said. It's not how I want to define myself.
Yeah,
I'm very much interested in number one, having men reclaim masculinity,
yeah,
having people understand tribal dynamics and the synergy of a tribal perspective, and this a lot of what I do pertains and applies to plenty of ethnicities and racial backgrounds. But I also, on top of my feelings of how things work, also identify with my specific group and have
yeah.
certain aspirations and goals pertaining to who I am specifically. So I agree with you. I avoid the label. It is, I will say, it is impressive that this group of individuals that exists for the most part online has gotten to the point where we have presidential candidates, trying
Yeah,
to position themselves, in relation to where they are with the alt right. It is impressive in that sense, but the work isn't done, regardless of whether you're part of the alt right or not.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Pepe the Frog is famous now.
Yeah, the racist
Feared by
frog.
Hillary Clinton. Her worst nightmare, a frog that smiles smugly upon her. And
Yeah, it's fucking hysterical. The fact that
yeah,
like
it
these
is.
people are talking about racist frogs, and like it's like the fucking the greatest troll job ever. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Uh, yeah, I could say this also in regards to the alt-right and myself. I have a different approach, and that is I think it's most interesting to focus on improving our own guys. So in my case, like Western guys, generally speaking, and particularly speaking, Swedish guys, to yes, the same thing as you're doing, make them reclaim their masculinity. I'm not as interested in blaming the Jew for every misstep that has happened during the last 100 years. Even though I have named the Jew and talked about pornography and such things in that context, but I'm more about saying to guys like, take your responsibility. It's your own responsibility if you succumb to these temptations and weakness. It's your own responsibility if you don't want to go to the gym. It's your own responsibility if you don't want to get a girlfriend. Those sort of things. So I would be more on the side of perhaps you and Jack Donovan, who pushes more to do what we actually can do. A bit more action, a bit more physical practice, rather than just talking about, I don't know, Jewish media control and IQ differences, which between races, which is quite popular in the alt-right. So there is a difference there, I would say.
yeah, I agree. And recently in a conversation, I sort of categorized that point as I don't like to have conversations that talk about issues at a level that I cannot affect. So,
Yeah,
I can't control billionaire Jewish bankers.
yeah,
What I can control is what I do today, what I do tomorrow, what I do for my friends, what I support. So I like to stay within the realm of what I could actually control.
exactly.
And I do understand that the only way those much larger issues are going to be controlled is when enough people do things that I'm trying to do at a much lower level.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So I
Um,
agree.
So what if I want someone to associate themselves with my teachings, taking the glorious pill, as I call it, that entails action. So taking a red pill, that is, I'm red pilled about the Jewish question, but the glorious pill is taking action upon your knowledge. So if you take the red pill in regards to pornography, you say like, oh, it's really damaging for my masculine virility. The glorious pill then is to act upon that knowledge. So you say like, oh, you know what? I live a sedentary lifestyle. I need to go to the gym. And then you also go to the gym because you act upon that understanding. Same thing with pornography. If you say like, oh, porn is bad for me, I have to quit. And that is what kind of separates my not ideology, but my philosophy at least, is that you always have to act upon your knowledge, basically.
Right. No, and I agree. I agree. I want to segue, laterally somewhat to another topic of interest, and one you've commented on before, and I'd like you to share your opinions here. But
Yeah.
Milo the Wonder Gay, aka the Dangerous Faggot.
Yeah.
What's going on with Milo?
I mean, yeah, I don't know really what to make of him. I've always been quite positive, because when I see a guy sitting in a hostile environment, such as being interviewed at a talk show or whatever, and he's just bringing the heat to feminism, debunking wage gap myths left, right, center, and he's just bringing the heat to feminists. I love that, absolutely love that, and he has my respect for it. And another thing also is that he hasn't claimed to be alt-right, and he hasn't claimed to represent the alt-right. However, he did in an interview quite recently misrepresent the alt-right. He said, okay, I'm not alt-right, but this is what the alt-right is about. And then he talked about equality and democracy and those sort of liberal values. And that is not what the alt-right is about. It's not about equality. It's not about democracy even though plenty of guys who adhere to alt-right values probably are for democracy as well. But I think he misrepresented them there. But then again, in a live interview at a big news network, it can be an easy thing to say the wrong things as well. So I'm not all too mad at him, but I'd say that you can be careful with Milo. But overall, I think he's doing good work.
No, absolutely. And my take on Milo, and I said this very early on, before he started dyeing his hair and becoming fabulous.
Yeah.
He has an incredible body of work. He has an incredible amount of content that stands alone. But he's at the point now where he's really leveraging the character, the caricature, I should say, of who he is. And what he's saying started almost playing an equal role to who he is. And I've never subscribed to who he is, but I've always had, a great respect for what he said.
Yeah.
You look at like yourself, the things that you promote are not only, in your content, your spoken content, but, we see videos of you training. We see videos of you doing the thing. As I described before. I myself, I'm married happily 12 years. I have 4 children. I lift a lot of weights. I train fighters. I have, very, very tight groups of men, friends, and tribe. And, so our lives are also a positive reflection of our philosophies. I've always contended that there's going to be a point where Milo has to sort of take a back seat to what it is we're trying to do, because I think there is a limit to his lifestyle and how it's going to help guide as a sort of beacon of light for a lot of the men out there that are struggling with these issues.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he is as a role model for Western guys. He's is very bad. So. Basically, he's cool with me as long as he does not try to represent himself as a role model who other guys should try to emulate. Like I do, I have claimed before too. I want to be a role model for other guys. I want other guys to look at me and say like, oh, you know what, that's fucking cool. I'm gonna start reading books and I'm gonna get massive as fuck, like and train some martial arts. That's my outspoken goal, and I try to be true to that. So I have to make more sacrifices, if you will. Like I have to train because I need to be to show by example, just as you do. Like you know, live your philosophy, uh, and as long as Milo makes it clear that he does not take it upon himself to be a role model, I'm cool enough with him, I suppose.
No, and I agree. I agree. All right. Next thing, Europe as it relates to a perspective on the presidential race. I know that you had commented on the debate that occurred the other day, but I'm
Yeah.
interested to know not only a little bit more about your personal opinion of it, but what you see Europe and Europe's opinion of it, or are they even paying attention?
Yeah, they are indeed. Now I see this is as a global battle, basically, between nationalism and globalism, and Trump obviously is the candidate for nationalism, and these are very interesting years indeed. So we had the Brexit, like Britain leaving the EU in June, and that was a great victory, of course, because Britain voted to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Then we also had an election in Austria, um, which then the leftists, the globalists there, um, they got caught with voter fraud, so they're having a re-election later this year, and the Nationalist Party will hopefully win. And then next year, 2017, there is an election in France, and there we have Front National, which will hopefully become the largest party in France there. The year after that, 2018, we have election in Sweden, and then we have, first and foremost, Sweden Democrats, which is the only nationalist party, and then there might be pop up some other alternative as well. Now, what I want to say about that is if Trump wins, that will America is the cultural center of the West, and if America goes more nationalistic, Europe will also go more nationalistic. So basically, it can become a positive spiral of nationalism. So if Trump wins, the French will say like, oh, you know, nationalism is on the rise. We're not the only ones who are fed up with this globalism. And the same thing then in Sweden, they say like, oh, you know, nationalists has won all of these victories in both America and in Europe, and they will also be inclined to vote more nationalist. So the American election is extremely important, even for Europeans.
Right, and I agree with that. I agree with it completely. And again, getting back to some of the things that I try to champion on the content that I put out there, but everybody getting in touch with the tribal aspect of their identity and understanding sometimes the best way to avoid conflict is really to have a good understanding of who you and your people are, because it's then that you could really seek and even develop the criteria by which you could form alliances with other groups. I think the big mistake that's happening right now, and so many on the left, are blinded by just this blind just acceptance of emotion as a relevant factor in policy. They want everybody to just get along and be together, and it's not going to work. Ironically, the way you do make these people able to coexist is having them actually deal with each other as separate, distinct groups. Um,
Yeah, definitely,
you know,
definitely.
so I absolutely agree that Europe is reaching a point where it doesn't have a choice. I recall a few weeks ago I had gotten a phone call during one of the live shows that I did from a truck driver in the United Kingdom, and he was describing to me how Calais is off limits.
Oh,
Nobody
yeah, yeah.
goes there anymore, and how it's right after Brexit, he told me that he went to work the next day, and they told him that the referendum to leave had passed, and he was excited, and he didn't realize that nobody else at his job was on his political side, and
Oh,
everybody like looked. He said it was like an awkward moment where he thought he was going to get fired right there, but there's still that pull where people haven't yet got it. But as the problems and conflicts of these invaders mounts, more and more people are being dragged to reality,
yeah,
whether they like it or
definitely.
not.
That's actually quite. It's very fascinating to see. Can look at Sweden, for example. Like in 2010, there was an election, and then if you said that you supported the Sweden Democrats back in 2010, as I did openly, at the university, the amount of awkward moments and hostile stares you got then was insane. Like that was a sure way to socially ostracize yourself, was to support Sweden Democrats openly. um, which I did then, and I'm glad I did. But now, 2016, after 6 years of intense political debate and a lot of reality that comes knocking on people's doors, now it is completely acceptable to be Sweden Democrats in almost any situation. So that's extremely interesting to see how quickly the political situation has changed. Just going from being completely ostracized if you even mentioned their name, to now being in polls the largest party. So yeah, that the reality is knocking on people's doors, and you can see that.
It's funny too. I see a parallel here in America, specifically New York, with supporting Trump. Now,
Yeah,
Trump is from New York. Like Trump is a part of the New York scene, and everybody's familiar. We have a bunch of buildings here with the fucking name Trump on the side of them,
yeah,
and but being that he has been so um, controversial since he's begun his presidential campaign. One of the things you'll notice in New York City, there are so few Trump supporters that are open, because it's such a liberal town,
yeah,
that you'll find people like, almost, because obviously I have Trump shirts, hats. I go full Monty. I don't give a fuck.
yeah,
And the reaction that I get from people is it would be almost, and those who deny the Holocaust excuse the example, but it would be me like walking around with a Nazi uniform on, and
yeah.
like that is the reaction I'm getting, the emotional reaction. And it's funny how it was different. Maybe this time last year, or even at the beginning of this year, as opposed to now, where now, after the debates, after more of this position has become solidified in the mainstream, it is now becoming more and more sort of easy to have these conversations, and for people to actually consider points other than the ones that they're fed by the left.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Exactly the same thing in Europe, in Sweden at least. Yeah, the same.
So now Germany, Merkel, she recently admitted that, and correct me if I'm wrong, she recently admitted that maybe it wasn't the best idea to let Africa invade. What's your take on that, and what do you know of what's going on there?
Angela Merkel can possibly be the most hated woman alive. Can possibly be the most hated woman of all time.
Yep.
She is. Yeah, I don't even know where to start with her. I don't even know where to start. She is just a horrible, horrible human, and she has caused so much pain and suffering, and it will take a long time to repair the damage she's done. And now,
Generations. Yep.
yeah, definitely. And yeah, she's probably gonna regret herself, but it's too late. Like it's the damage is already done. So her excuses, it doesn't really mean anything. She's just a horrible woman.
Well, as I could safely say from the United States, she should be swinging from a fucking tree. She has taken a country with as glorious a history as you will find in Europe, and just given it over to a an idea, to a philosophy, to a movement that is just intent on destroying uh, every individual identity that has
Yeah,
created the civilization that she's trying to move from. It's just deplorable. What
yeah, it
she's
is.
gotten away with.
It is. Yeah, I can't understand what the army is doing actually. They should have gone in to her office and said like, you know what, Frau Merkel, tone it down, calm down. This is not sustainable. You have to go now if you continue this. Unfortunately, they didn't, and the next generation of German men will have to deal with it. So yeah, she is by all accounts a traitor. She should be convicted for treason. Simple as
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely, I agree. And I want to get a little bit closer to home for you for a second, and I want you to talk about the the current state of Sweden. Recently, I read an article that was talking about the no-go zones increasing in number. Um, give me a little information on that. What's going on in Sweden?
Yeah, basically, so you have these no-go zones, and the ones living there, they have absolutely no honor at all. So what they do is they can call the firemen or even ambulances, say like, oh, you know what, something has happened on so and so address. Can you come and help? When they arrive to the scene, they get ambushed, and they throw stones at the ambulance or at the firemen. It's a completely disgusting behavior, but that's what they're doing at least. And then when the police comes as well, they start ambushing the police as well. So basically, what they've started doing is they go in with the police vans to escort the ambulance, and then have uh, street battles like with the shields and everything to fend off the ambushers or the attackers. So that would be the definition of a no-go zone. Basically, we
So
have
now
a
let me ask, for clarity's sake, these are neighborhoods that are not filled with natural sweets.
Yeah, exactly. They're mainly Middle Eastern people, Middle Eastern and some Africans as well.
Right, right.
And
Well,
they kind of do the same thing as they do in America, where if they riot, they for some reason target their own stuff. So car burning, like to burn cars, is a popular activity among these misunderstood youth. But the fun thing, they burn their own cars, like or the cars in their neighborhood. So if you live in a ethnic Swedish area, your cars will be safe because they don't even go there for some reason. So yeah, I don't know how they think there, but yeah, chaos and mayhem is what they.
yeah. Well, they're very misunderstandable. So
Yeah,
it's kind of we're taking what they're giving us, which isn't much.
yeah, no.
But I find it curious that the one thing there, or one of the things that you would target in one of these neighborhoods, are the is the motivation for an ambulance driver to enter your neighborhood to help. It's like,
Yeah,
why would you sabotage that?
yeah, it's I don't even know where to start. But the official narrative that this has become more of a joke nowadays, but they used it quite frequently a few years back, and that was these youths, they are creating chaos because they don't have any facilities to hang out in, like no
Like a
no
cave.
like Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
A cage, a couple of hamster wheels, problem solved.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Uh, no, with like the uh, yeah, ungdomsgård you call it in Sweden, which basically means youth center where they can play video games or play ping pong or whatever. So that's just a really, really bad excuse for them chaosing that they don't have anywhere else. They don't have anything else to do, so they have to attack ambulances and burn cars.
Right, and it's funny that again, there's a parallel here in the U.S. A lot of these bad inner city communities during the '80s and '90s, there was this huge promotion to start these basketball leagues.
Yeah,
It's predominantly the black neighborhoods, and they all play basketball. I grew up in a black neighborhood, and I play basketball. And
yeah,
it was one of these things where if you just had something for them to sort of use as an outlet for this energy, they would be less inclined to participate in all of the unsavory behavior that they were prior. But as usual, it's you don't rob and shoot people because you can't play basketball. You rob and shoot
yeah,
people because you're a piece of shit, and your
yeah,
culture supports robbing and shooting people. But now you have the added benefit of when you're done going to play some basketball.
yeah.
So it again, it's a cultural thing. It's a generational thing. Specific to the black community, they suffer from just a deficiency in in parental guidance. Fathers are absent. You see why they are suffering at a level that they are.
Yeah.
And I think that it is probably just as easy to rationalize and explain and understand, why these Middle Eastern and African transplants cannot cope in a compatibility sense, with Swedish society.
Yeah, I would also I usually take the blacks in America as a good example on how feminism can totally ruin a society. When you take away the men, like the father figure, you will get rebellious youth, and I'd say that the blacks in America or those sort of neighborhoods where the state is their father, so the woman doesn't need a man, the man goes away, the children grows up without a father, straight into criminality and all sorts of problem. That would be the ultimate argument, I'd say, against feminism.
Right.
And also in Sweden, where we have this generous welfare system, that takes away the incentive to work for a lot of these guys. So if they're coming directly from Somalia, they are used to, I don't know, herding goats all day, or at least working, and then they're being put in an apartment in a boring neighborhood in Sweden, and no one likes them. It's cold and dark. I can't get that they become unhappy and find some sort of outlet for their frustration. Now, I'm not excusing their behavior, but if you want to analyze the situation, it's quite clear that you have this sort of socialist policies that is to blame. Because I mean, if you don't have to work for your money, for your food, you can just sit around doing nothing. That's not a particularly healthy or happy way to live.
Right. And I've always contended, I've always put forth the idea that it's a compatibility issue. I needn't judge, in a moral sense, the value of a culture, but I can observe the incompatibility between cultures. And
Yeah, definitely.
we're not talking about societies that resemble Western societies, just transferring one group of people to the next, one land to the next. We're talking about completely different structures of civilization, trying to sort of find a way in a strange land with strange people that speak strange languages, where the climate is not even conducive to what you and your family is used to, and I would argue, evolved for.
Yeah,
It is, there are so many compatibility issues with so much of this migration, this invasion, if you would.
yeah,
It again, and I agree that you don't have to have the value judgment. You don't have to just say, you don't have to concede that it isn't wrong what they're doing, but it is very easily understood if you actually just release yourself from the PC pressure to take the time and understand it.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, this is important to understand. I don't have any problem with Somalis or Arabs in their own nations. In fact, I've gotten plenty of support from, Arabs in Pakistan and in various places in the Middle East, saying, you know what, it's complete madness what you're doing in Europe, letting all these other guys take over your nations, and showing me support. And I obviously have support them in their own nations. Because they realize that I'm fighting for my identity and I respect them having their own identity. But in our own places, Sweden is for Swedes. I will never compromise on that. And at the same time, I can say that, Somalia can be for Somalias,
Right.
Somalians.
I agree. And, it's one of the reasons I think that Donald Trump is getting so much support. He is a very volatile figure. He's somebody who has completely broken the mold of what we expect a politician to be. But I think he is a testament to exactly where, citizens of America are at. Like there's no more patience for these politicians. We don't have
Yeah,
any more patience. We even, we look at it as we have a limited amount of time even, to
yeah.
save this country. And it's a testament to to how somebody like Donald Trump has gotten the support he has. I wanted to ask you because we glanced over it before, but the debate. Did you get a chance to see the debate?
I actually did not, but I read up on it afterwards, and my analysis basically was that Donald Trump won as long as he didn't lose hard. And basically, to put it in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu terms, Donald Trump is a black belt at life. Hillary Clinton is a black belt at politics and debating, but she failed to submit him in that debate. And then he got up, got to his feet and can start swinging again with his superior boxing to use martial arts
I
metaphor.
like the model. I think it works. It works
Yeah,
very very well. And having seen it myself, I guess to follow your metaphor, I really wanted him to submit her. Like
yeah,
he was going for escapes rather than submissions. And
yeah,
there are two more debates scheduled. We have a vice presidential debate scheduled too, but that's more of like the junior varsity teams playing.
yeah,
We really, a lot of the people that I've spoken to on it hope that maybe he's ramping up, his approach to the debate to sort of pay dividends maybe towards the end of the battles. But we saw him having the opportunity to really expound upon and throw into the conversation some major issues, and he bypassed a lot of them. I think he was who he is. I think one of the comments and posts that I put out there is what we saw was a New York businessman versus a career politician. He's
yeah,
never
exactly.
he's never had to polish himself, and she's never had any skin in the game. So she could
Yeah.
say whatever the fuck she wants, and he is going to say, or she could say whatever everybody wants to hear, and he could say whatever he thinks needs to be said. And you saw the contrast in styles when that played out.
Yeah, and this is so important to realize as well. Like these career politicians, they are excruciatingly good at politics and to backstab each other, have information on each other, to pressure each other, to just play the game. So they are good at the power game. Donald Trump, he is good at. He's a businessman. He's good at those sort of stuff. He's good at
Getting
making
shit
deals.
done. Right.
Exactly, getting shit done. And then people say like, oh, he's just a narcissistic guy. Yeah, but like narcissistic guys, they get shit done. For me, it doesn't matter that he has three really huge buildings in New York City with Trump on it. I mean, those are still cool buildings, and he got shit done. Whereas politicians, they are not the same And that's also what I mean with she has a distinct advantage in those sort of debates because that is her game. Whereas it is not his game. His game is, yeah, as you said, to get shit done.
Right. I think when people, like, to me, my personal opinion on the presidential race, like Hillary Clinton to me is a traitor, and she's a traitor to the country. And I think when it comes to, first and foremost, who should be allowed to be president, I think the president should be a patriot. The
Yeah,
president should be somebody who believes in the identity, the spirit, the banner of what America is in this country. And I think with Hillary, and obviously it's her global initiatives and global ambitions and global rhetoric, you have with her somebody who has just been very, very good at staying involved in government.
yeah,
And she isn't somebody who strikes me as proud of being American, as in touch with what the American identity is, what the idea of America is. She's just somebody that will say whatever she needs to say. A very effective part of the debate for Trump was when she had shared, some policy suggestion, and he said, "Well, you've had 30 years. Why now?
yeah.
Why should anybody think you're going to do it now? You've been there, for 30 years. All of a sudden you have all the solutions." And this is the real world, real talk type of thing we love about Trump. I guess everybody, here in America really just wants to see her just annihilated,
Yeah, yeah, she's the American version of Merkel,
She
like an
is.
old bitter woman who's just pure evil. And I mean, she is a testament to her skill in the political game. Is she is such a hypocrite, like going down to Saudi Arabia to get funds, and at the same time she's talking about women's rights and gay rights and stuff like that. And at the same time getting sponsorship from these sort of guys in Saudi Arabia who who does not share her views on women's rights or gay rights or whatever. But she still she can lie straight into the American public with those sort of things. So yeah, she's skilled at that hypocrisy game. A vile woman.
Yeah, well, we have another debate October 9th, so we got a couple of weeks till that. I'm looking forward to it, obviously, but I just hope he goes for the jugular. He was in a rally the day after the debate, and just yesterday, and he is so good when he's in his element. He basically stood up there and, like, for an hour and a half, no water, no break, barely even any air. He just went on for an hour and a half, just solid stuff. And
Yeah.
people just want to see him bring that focused fire to the debate. Although it was nice seeing him basically just, like, go alpha a couple of times because they were trying to steal the conversation away from him. But let's move on from there. So you have gotten into a little bit of a tiff with Facebook. What is going on with the golden one in Facebook?
Yeah, so the first ban was no, the first ban was actually 24 hours. I don't remember which post that was. The second post was for like 3 days or something, and that was a picture of Adolf Hitler next to Joseph Stalin, where it said, Hitler awarded 6 times for bravery during the First World War. And then he just has his Iron Cross on him. And then on the other side was, Joseph Stalin with a lot of medals, etc. And then it said, like, never set foot on his on the battlefield to just prove that, Hitler was a war hero and Joseph Stalin was a skilled politician, if nothing else. But that got removed, and I got banned for a while there. Then when I got back to my account, I got another picture removed, and that was a fat shaming picture. So it was like a a really fat girl, like a obese girl, and I to the picture I had written a caption saying like, "You've been visited by the whale of health at every size." Because that's the campaign that she was participating in, like health at every size, and she was morbidly obese, and that was posted in August of 2015. So it was they took a post from over a year ago to ban me for a week for that. So yeah, I don't know when the next ban will come, but it will probably come sometime soon at least, because that I have some controversial stuff on my page, especially if you look over the years.
You know, it's funny too because I'm always waiting for a ban, and not to jinx myself, but they never come. So I'm thinking, okay, I got to get out of a lot of trouble because my last name's Garcia. I got a picture of my pops, who's dark as fuck,
Yeah.
up on my Facebook thing, and that has to get me out of trouble. It has to, because like I push the envelope at times so far beyond what I see, what other people have done, but everybody else gets fucked up, you know, and I've been able to sort of skirt by a lot of it. But when you see a Facebook ban, and you know, I'd say about a year ago or so, you know, I really saw the potential of the sabotage that could occur if somebody went after me on Facebook, in terms of connecting with my, you know, my followers and, you know, my content
Yeah.
protection and stuff. So I started developing other channels. I started developing, you know, my Instagram, my YouTube
Yeah.
page. I started populating with more videos and stuff. It's around the time where we started doing the live YouTube videos, just to be able to spread my stuff around. But how are you dealing with it, and where do you, like, if somebody wants to take the glorious pill, where would you drive them to at this point?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I felt kind of the same way when I got that ban, and I thought to myself, okay, cool. Will I ever get back this page? Now it has been up for a few days now, actually, so that's cool. But yeah, Instagram is obviously a really good place. But you can get accounts removed there. I've had friends got their accounts removed from there as well. So it's not safe either, but it's a good backup at least. And my handle there is the Glorious Lion, and the Glorious Lion is my nickname when the Golden One isn't available. On YouTube, it's the Golden One, and there is where I have most of my subscribers. So 38,500 now, so soon 40,000 there. Otherwise, I have the golden1.se, which is my homepage, and there is probably where I will keep my non-video material in case my Facebook goes down.
So the Golden One SC, where's that located?
SE is Sweden.
Okay, so that's just your website.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, okay,
So I have some articles there that I've written,
right.
but I haven't written that much for a while because I'm writing on my book, or I try to at least. But you know, a lot of stuff going on and a lot of stuff that needs to be done. So, but yeah, I have some articles on the golden1.se.
Yeah, I've been writing a book on Tribe for, it seems like, 384 years.
Yeah,
It's like I every time I set aside time to do it and focus on it, it's just it's like the more I want to concentrate, the more easily distracted I am, you know?
yeah, same here, same here. And I mean, it's hard to force creativity.
Right.
It's very hard for me to just, I'm gonna go up really early and write this book the entire day and the entire night. But it's really hard to produce high quality thoughts that you can put into print just by forcing it. So you have to also, like, this spur of the moment, like, oh cool, I got a good formulation in my head, I'm gonna write it down. So yeah, it's can be hard
No, I
writing.
agree. What I actually started doing, just to start being a little bit more, you know, productive, is I started doing the speech to text app. So I sit there with my mouse and I edit with the mouse while I basically speak my writing. and
Uh-huh.
and it allows me to be I just put shit out there, and what I'm doing is just editing to sort of as I go along, just to preserve the sentiment, but just putting it at a point where it could be revisited when I'm done and edited properly. But I've been able to get a lot of work done that way because it doesn't take that much time. So it's like I'm not
Yeah.
getting distracted. But before I'm jotting out, 3-4 pages at a clip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all right. So yeah, I mean, it seems to be that we're going to be playing this game like everybody else is. Of getting bumped from one thing to the other.
Yeah.
I know I haven't been banned, but I think it's just a matter of time because it seems like it's really it's follower based. People complain, and that's how you get penalized. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily a an objective assessment of what you've done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's people coming into your page and then flagging it for being unsuitable or breaking the community guidelines or whatever. So yeah.
Right, right, right. So all right, so I want you this last segment. I really want you to share with people what the glorious pill is all about. I want to know what you're telling men to do, and I will also want to get into what your schedule is like, what it is that you do, how you handle your lifting and your dieting and your martial arts training. So I guess first, what do you the people that subscribe to your content that are following what you do? I had a guest the other day who's a follower of your content ask me about porn on the Pressure Project.
Yeah.
And I know you have a lot to say about porn, but more
Yeah.
generally, what are you telling your guys to do that follow you?
Uh, I can explain this. I made a video on my birthday actually. That was my birthday wish that everyone was to participate in the Wild Hunt Challenge. And what the Wild Hunt Challenge is 2 months where you first and foremost train at least 4 times a week, 5 if you can, 6 or 7 is even better. But you train something, preferably in the gym, lifting weights or some sort of martial arts, depending on what you have on your in your local area. So if you have MMA, that's perfect. If you only have judo, that's also good. But either way, that you get into the routine of training, like training becomes an integral part of your everyday life. So you get in that routine. The second step is to read an article every day to gain more, or read books as well, like 2 or 3 chapters each day. So you just get that routine as well to read a lot. And this is two meanings to this. First and foremost, obviously, you need to increase your wisdom levels and understanding of the world in regards to politics or culture or training, nutrition, health, whatever really. The second point with that is that a lot of guys, they're kind of damaged by Instagram and Facebook and, with all the scrolling. Like you just scroll through your feed and get those impulses all the time without ever really concentrating on something. And when you read something, when you read an article or when you read a book, it forces you to concentrate for a longer period of time.
Right.
And the next step was to not watch porn for 2 months, or preferably never watch porn again, as it saps your masculine virility and takes away the incentive of you to meet real women, and also there is a lot of interesting studies that have been done with the porn consumption that guys can even go so far as they can't get it up when they are with a woman because they're so damaged by porn. So there are a lot of different things like that, and then it's unworthy. It's not a cool thing to do to pleasure yourself whilst watching other men have sex with a girl you find attractive. So so there's so many things I can say about porn, but my best argument is to to say like it's not worthy of you. You want to be the guy who does the fucking. You don't want to see another guy fuck, because that's kind of a cock thing to do. So,
Right.
so that's in regard to porn right there. And then in regards to my own training, I am focusing a bit more on MMA now, and the focus on the MMA is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or submission wrestling. And then I complement that with some lifting in the gym, so a lot of bench press and a lot of rows. But since the majority of the time goes to training martial arts, I don't really make any significant gains in the gym, actually. But I strive to learn as much martial arts as possible, so I can bring that back to my guys later on.
Right. So
Basically.
yeah, it makes sense. So the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu journey that you're on, I remember seeing you compete. I think it was your
Yeah.
first competition.
Yeah.
Do you have any aspirations of trying MMA out competitively?
Um, yeah, some sort of either some sort of K1 fight or some sort of MMA. Just some sort of competition to set a good example for other guys. So yeah, something at least.
No, I agree.
And until then, I just try to learn and become as well trained as possible to prepare myself, and then whichever opportunity presents itself, I'm gonna take it. So maybe my coach says, "Oh, you know what? It's a K1 fight in 1 month at this place," or then in 5 months, maybe they say like, "Oh, you know what? You want to have this MMA match." So it's basically, yeah, I'm looking at what opportunities presents themselves, and until then, I'm just training hard and try to learn as much as possible.
That's awesome. And when you are because you're going back to or you were in Sweden or going back to Sweden. I had an interview once with a buddy of mine who moved to Norway, and he lives in Oslo. He's from New Jersey. He's a buddy of mine that I knew through the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu MMA scene here on the East Coast of the States. And one of the things he told me about, which I was just, sometimes you just can't even fathom these things being true, but he told me that the level of contact in combat sports in Norway is highly regulated, and there's only a certain amount of intensity that you are allowed to participate in these competitions. Are there any restrictions at this point in Sweden for that?
No, we actually had. I remember when I was younger, this was maybe 10 years ago or so, we had a discussion regarding K1 because they had a K1 event in Stockholm, K1 kickboxing, that is, and there was a debate, but that was okay, full contact and everything, like an official K1 event. But prior to that, I think there was some sort of ban on boxing, but that's gone now. So that was maybe 10, 15 years ago we had some sort of nanny state regulation, but it's gone now, so we can have MMA matches and yeah, whatever we want basically. So
That's awesome. And how is the state of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and MMA in Sweden right now?
um, uh, it's quite popular, I'd say, and there are some high level guys as well. So yeah, I'd say that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is thriving in Sweden. Thai boxing is another. If you want to talk about cultural appropriation, Swedes have a culturally appropriated Thai boxing from the Thais. That's like when I was younger in my home commune Vallentuna, it's called. We had this gym, Vallentuna boxing camp, where we had a lot of really good Thai boxers train, and that was actually closed when I started. So I started at another gym, Strike Boxing Club, at was a bit further away, but you still had that sort of almost like a cultural thing in Vallentuna, that Thai boxing was a cool thing to do, and it was also rooted in the local culture. So yeah, that's a cool thing actually.
That's cultural appropriation done the right way.
Exactly, exactly.
Glorious appropriation.
Glorious, highly glorious.
All right, brother. Well, we're going to wrap it up there. I want you, we mentioned it before, but I just want you to give the rundown one more time of where listeners can find you if they want to get your content. And just a reminder to listeners, we're going to have all these links on the show notes page on thepressureproject.com. And why don't you let them know that again, please?
All right. So on YouTube and Facebook, it's the Golden One, and on Instagram, it's the Glorious Lion, and my homepage is thegoldenone.se.
Awesome. Well, Marcus, I appreciate the time. You are my Swedish correspondent. And I appreciate you taking the time out of your very busy schedule and sharing it with me.
It's my pleasure. It's an honor to be on the show. So pleasure's all mine.
Awesome. And I will talk to you soon, brother. Thank you.
Definitely.
And I'm back. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and I do appreciate you guys spending the time and checking it out. You guys know thepressureproject.com is our website. Info@thepressureproject.com is our contact email. Thepressureprojectmembers.com is our membership site. We have hundreds and hundreds of hours of content behind the curtain on that membership site. Prices start as cheaply as $9.99 a month. Very inexpensive. If you've ever gotten anything out of the Pressure Project, and its content, its podcast, its live shows, and everything else that we do, please try to lend us some support and get a membership. I don't even care if you join for a month, download everything, and just don't renew. Kind of a dick move, but I'll forgive you anyway. All right, guys? I appreciate the support. And as always, brothers, pressure to power.